The morning sun spilled through the wide windows of Fort Haven's military cafeteria, turning every metal tray and coffee pot into silver mirrors. Soldiers in uniform talked quietly over scrambled eggs and steaming mugs. Among them moved Ethan Cole, the base janitor, a tall, quiet man in his mid-30s. His uniform wasn't made of medals or ribbons, just a faded green shirt and a white apron. He walked with a calm humility that came from years of cleaning other people's messes and carrying his own silent battles. Ethan was a single dad, raising his 8-year-old daughter, Lila, after losing his wife to illness 3 years earlier. He took the janitor job to stay close to the military community he once served. Every night after his shift, he'd go home, help Lila with her homework, and tuck her in with a promise that life would one day get better. That morning, the cafeteria buzzed a little louder than usual. Major General Rebecca Hayes, one of the highest-ranking officers on base, was visiting. She was known for her steel discipline, commanding respect wherever she went. Ethan was mopping near her table when a faint clink caught his ear. A ring had rolled across the floor, landing near his boot. He bent down, picked it up, and froze. It was a silver ring with a delicate turquoise stone, the exact design his daughter wore on a chain around her neck. It had been a gift from her late mother. Ethan hesitated, heart pounding, then approached the general's table. "Mom, I think this is yours," he said quietly, placing the ring in her hand. General Hayes looked up, slightly surprised. "Thank you, Mr. Cole, right?" He nodded. "Yes, Mom. I just noticed it looked familiar." He paused, his voice trembling. "My daughter has this same ring too." For a brief moment, the busy cafeteria seemed to fall silent. The general's fork stopped midair. Her eyes widened as she studied his face, then the ring, then back at him. "Your daughter has this ring," she repeated softly. "Yes, Mom. Her mother gave it to her before she passed. She said it came from a small jewelry shop in Savannah, Georgia, the only one of its kind." The color drained slightly from the general's face. "That's impossible," she whispered. "That's where I got mine too. My daughter's ring was lost years ago." Ethan's heart tightened. "What do you mean, Mom?" But before she could answer, a young soldier rushed in with a message. The general excused herself, leaving Ethan standing there with confusion and a strange spark of destiny flickering inside him. Outside the cafeteria, the wind carried the sound of helicopters lifting off from the airfield. Ethan stood at the window, the weight of memories pressing on him, his wife's laughter, his daughter's tiny hand gripping his, and that same turquoise ring catching the afternoon sun. Something told him that morning had changed more than he realized. That evening, Ethan drove his old blue Ford pickup through the tree-lined streets of Haven Springs, a small town outside the base. The autumn air smelled of pine and rain. Lila sat beside him, clutching her backpack, humming to a tune only she knew. "Daddy, did something happen at work today?" she asked, peeking at him with curious eyes. He smiled faintly. "Just met someone who reminded me of your mom, that's all." At home, their little house was warm and alive with Lila's drawings taped on the fridge. On her nightstand sat the ring, that same silver band with the turquoise stone. Ethan picked it up gently. The next morning, a message arrived for him. General Hayes wanted to see him in her office. Nervous but curious, Ethan reported to the administrative building. The general stood by the window overlooking the parade field. When she turned, her expression was softer than before. "Mr. Cole," she began, "I couldn't stop thinking about what you said. About your daughter's ring." Ethan nodded, unsure what to say. She walked to her desk and opened a small velvet box. Inside was an identical ring. "I bought this when my daughter was born. Her name was Emily. But she went missing with her mother in a car accident in Georgia years ago. Only her mother's body was found. Emily was never recovered." The silence between them deepened, heavy with years of loss. Ethan swallowed hard. "Mom, my wife never spoke much about her past. She said she adopted Layla from a distant relative before we met. She never wanted to revisit the pain of her old life. General Hayes' hands trembled slightly. Do you have a photo of your daughter? Ethan took out his phone, showing a picture of Layla laughing in the park, sunlight tangled in her brown curls, the turquoise ring glinting at her neck. The general's eyes filled with tears. That's her, that's my Emily. Ethan's breath caught. The room seemed to spin. But before either could speak further, the base alarm sounded. A training exercise had gone wrong, the supply truck overturned near the main gate. Ethan, without hesitation, ran out to help. General Hayes followed. Together, they joined soldiers in pulling two injured men from the smoking vehicle. The air was thick with the smell of fuel and adrenaline. For a moment, rank and status disappeared. They were just two people doing what was right. After the chaos calmed, the general looked at Ethan differently, not as a janitor, but as the man who had raised her lost daughter with love and sacrifice. That night, she visited Ethan's home. Layla ran to open the door, surprised to see the general standing there in civilian clothes, holding a small teddy bear. Hi there, sweetheart, Hayes said gently. That's a beautiful ring you have. Layla smiled proudly. It was my mommy's. Hayes knelt to her level, tears glistening. It was my little girl's too. Weeks passed. DNA test confirmed what everyone now hoped. Layla was indeed Emily Hayes, the general's daughter. The discovery shook the military community, and it healed two hearts that had been broken for years. The general, overwhelmed with gratitude, offered Ethan anything he needed, but he asked for nothing except to keep caring for Layla as her father. One Sunday afternoon, they met at Central Park in downtown Savannah, where the sound of children laughing mixed with birdsong. The fountain sparkled, and a light breeze brushed through the oak trees. Ethan sat on a bench, watching as Layla and General Hayes played catch with a bright red ball. For the first time in years, Layla had both sides of her heart complete, a father who raised her, and a grandmother who never stopped praying for her return. Hayes sat beside Ethan, eyes on the horizon. You've done more for her than I ever could have imagined, she said softly. Ethan smiled. I just did what any father would do. She handed him a small box. Inside was a polished gold bracelet engraved with 3 words, family. Faith. Forever. Tears filled his eyes. Thank you, Mom. Hayes smiled. Call me Rebecca. That evening, as the sun sank over the city, helicopters hummed distantly above, a reminder of duty, destiny, and the strange ways kindness weaves people together. Layla tugged at Ethan's hand. Daddy, can we get ice cream? He chuckled. Only if you promise to save me a bite this time. As they walked away, Rebecca watched them, whispering a silent prayer of thanks. Sometimes, the smallest acts, like returning a ring, can change everything. Months later, a new plaque appeared in the cafeteria at Fort Haven. It read, in honor of those who serve with humility, and those who show kindness without knowing how far it travels. Every morning, Ethan would stop and smile at it before beginning his rounds. Life hadn't suddenly become easy, but it had become whole. Layla often spent weekends with General Hayes, who had retired to be closer to them. They would visit the park, bake cookies, and sometimes watch the sunset from the old airfield where Ethan worked. One afternoon, as the golden light spread across the horizon, Hayes turned to Ethan. Do you ever think about how small things lead to miracles? He nodded. All the time. That day in the cafeteria, I thought I was just returning a ring. Hayes smiled. And instead, you returned my daughter. They stood quietly, the wind carrying the distant hum of a passing helicopter, its shadow sweeping over them like a reminder that kindness doesn't need uniform or title, only heart. Layla ran up to them, holding 2 ice cream cones. For my family, she laughed. Ethan lifted her into his arms, feeling the warmth of a life renewed. And for a moment, the world seemed perfectly still, no medals, no ranks, just love stitched together by one random act of kindness. Dear viewers, if this story touched your heart, please take a moment to comment below, tell us what kindness means to you. Don't forget to like, share this story with your friends, and help us spread love and hope across the world. And please subscribe to our channel Kindness Quest for more true and inspiring stories that remind us, every act of kindness, no matter how small, can change a life forever. Thank you for watching. Stay kind. Stay human.